Hi everyone, my name is Taylor and I'm a professional makeup artist for film and television. These are a few examples of silicone molds that I'm going to show you how to make today. The most important first step is safety. This silicone is not skin safe until it is fully cured, so we want to make sure we're wearing gloves the whole time we're handling it. So the first thing I'm going to do is write out all of my ratios so I don't have to think about it once I start pouring. This right here is everything we need to calculate. So our base to catalyst ratio is 10 to 1. 10 parts base, 1 part catalyst. For this particular mold, I know I'm going to need about 300 grams of base. So to calculate my catalyst, I'm going to divide 300 by 10. And that's going to give me 30 grams for my catalyst. Our base and catalyst are the main components of the silicone mold. The Hyro Slip is optional, but I'm going to use it today. The Hyro Slip allows us to not have to add a release every time we pour something into the mold. So our Hyro Slip is always going to be 12% of our base. We know we have 300 grams of base, so I'm going to multiply that by 0.12 to get 36 grams. Now we have all our calculations and we're ready to pour. This is a food scale that I'm going to use to measure all the components of the mold. I'm going to start by pouring my base. I like to do this because it gives me a pretty clear idea of the overall amount of silicone I'm going to have because it's the biggest amount. So I'm going to set my cup here on the scale and I'm going to reset the balance. This way it doesn't include the weight of my cup. I'm pouring 300 grams of our base. I'm just going to pour slow so I don't overfill it. And there we are. We're at our 300 gram base. So now that we're at 0 again on our scale, the next component I'm going to pour is our catalyst. As we already calculated, we know we're going to pour 30 grams of this catalyst. And there we go, there's our 30 grams of catalyst. And our last component is the Hyro Slip, which we calculated 12% of our base is going to be 36 grams. Perfect, and there's our 36 grams of Hyro Slip. So I'm first going to mix my catalyst and my base, and everything is going to end up in this big container with the base, the catalyst, and the Hyro Slip. I really just want to make sure this gets evenly mixed throughout the whole thing. The mixing of your base and catalyst is super important because if there's anything unmixed, it might affect the curing of your silicone. So you just want to make sure you're being really thorough in this process and mixing everything evenly. It's going to turn this nice light blue color as you get it mixed up. Now that our base and catalyst are evenly mixed, I'm going to add in the Hyro Slip. Again, I just want to make sure this gets mixed really evenly throughout the whole thing. As we mix this, you'll see bubbles start to form from the mixing process. And we don't want our mold to have any bubbles because when we fill it, then those bubbles will show in our prosthetic. So to avoid that issue, after I'm done mixing this, I'm going to run the silicone through a vacuum chamber. So this feels like a pretty good mix. I think this is ready to go to the vacuum chamber. So this is our vacuum chamber. It has two parts. We have the chamber itself and the pump. Anytime we use any equipment in the lab, we always make sure to do a safety check. So I'm going to make sure all of my valves are tight. It's really important we do safety checks on this. We're working with pressurized air, so it can be really dangerous if you have anything leaking or if anything's not working properly. This gauge here on the lid will tell us how much pressure is in our chamber. This valve here is to let fresh air in, and this valve here is to let pressurized air in. So right now, they're both closed, but we don't have anything on, and I'm placing it into the vacuum chamber. We're going to place the lid back on, make sure everything is even. For the process of vacuuming the silicone, I want this to get to 29 inches of pressure, and I'm going to let that sit for 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to start this process and let it run. We always start making sure both valves are closed. And now I'm going to open up that pressure gauge and let it start building. So we've let this sit in here about 3 minutes. I've closed the vacuum valve, I've turned off the pump, and now we're going to slowly let fresh air back in to release the pressure. And there we go, I see on my meter I'm back to 0 pressure in here, so I'm safe to take the lid off. And we're going to pull our silicone out, and it looks good. So we're finally ready to bring this mold box back in with our Sculpt. And the last step to this is just pouring our silicone in. The great thing about silicone is it really only sticks to silicone, so I don't have to release this. Once the silicone sets, it'll just peel right off the sculpture, and really the sculpture will be perfectly intact still. As you can see in the silicone, there are no bubbles. We want to keep that by doing a really high pour into the box. So I'm going to start in a corner, and I'm just going to pull up and get a really small pour. It's also a good sign that we don't see any swirl or different colors throughout this. That means we did a good, thorough mix. So that's the whole process of making a silicone mold. We're going to let this set for 12 hours and then it'll be ready to use.